Hi, my name is Courtney Hurt, and today I am going to be talking to you about the power of the match. Um, Today is really a conversation about how you can use matching gifts as a way to power up your membership program. And this all comes from what we've learned through a program called Newsmatch, which is a national matching gift campaign for nonprofit newsrooms in the US. But we've really been able to witness the power of matching gifts as a way of increasing your number of supporters, as well as increasing the dollars that they give to your newsroom. So if this all sounds very new to you and you're curious as to what even is a matching gift campaign, let me explain it. So a matching gift campaign is a fundraiser in which you leverage a pool of funds from one large donor and maybe a few large donors, and you leverage those to unlock and to inspire your small donors to give. And so how this works is for every small donation that's made to your organization, it's matched by this pool of funding, and the result is double the impact for your organization. This is a win-win-win situation. It's a win for your individual donor who is able to increase their support for news and information that they love. It's a win for your larger donors that match those smaller donations because they're able to really see clearly the return on their investment of their contribution. And it's a win for you because you are increasing the dollars raised to support your news. The whole point is that it inspires readers to double or even triple their support when they make a donation. And we've seen this happen in Newsmatch, where newsrooms built this pool of funds and they match donations that are made on a particular day, or they'll match donations that are made throughout the entire campaign. There's a few ways in which donations can be matched. The first is a dollar for dollar campaign match to support your work. You can see here the Frisk, which is a outlet out in San Francisco. In their campaign, they say when you donate $25, it's going to turn into $50 for our organization, thanks to the generous support of matching grants. This inspires readers to act now and make a gift now, and it also inspires readers to give more than they otherwise would. But if you want to have your own spin on it, another way of leveraging match funds is matching donations with a contribution to another important cause. And generally, that contribution to the other important cause is put up by a sponsor or a larger supporter. But essentially, one way Sahan Journal did it was if you began a $10 monthly gift to their organization, it unlocked 10 meals for families in their community. Again, a new monthly recurring gift of $15 turned into 15 meals. And again, what you're doing is leveraging the provision of these meals to inspire your readers to initiate a membership or to support you. For organizations that maybe don't have as strong of a philanthropic model, but really rely on sponsorships or advertisements with businesses, here's a really clever way that we've seen it happen, and leveraging your matching donations with like a sponsored perk that's of equal value. This is similar to how the Daily Maverick in South Africa ran their Giving Tuesday campaign a few years ago. And basically what they said is that if you contribute 150 Rand to our organization per month, you will receive credit, Uber vouchers, as a way to thank you for your gift, but it's almost like an equivalent value. So again, the whole thing is that you're pulling resources together of these large matching gifts as an incentive to drive and unlock and motivate your small donations to support your organization. If you just want a quick snapshot of how this sort of sounds, here's an example. Feel free to build off of this, but essentially you go to your donors and say, we have a goal to raise this amount by this date, and we have a donor or a sponsor or a funder who will match your monthly contribution dollar for dollar when you make your gift. And that's right, your $25 monthly membership will turn into $50 for the news and information that you trust.
If you do sponsorships with your newsrooms, or if you have a major donor program, the process is pretty similar. Basically, it's all about understanding who could potentially support your organization with the matching gift. You learn more about their needs and their interests, and you align your ask with those needs and interests. And once that gift is secured, you thank them for their support and steward them for long-term support. I think sometimes you can crave like a checklist of what are the 5 things I need to do to just get a local match. But I want to just note here that sometimes it can feel like a very slow burn. And it's largely because local matches are generally large gifts you're securing. It could be anywhere from $5,000 to $1 million, depending on the size of your organization or the scope of your relationship. So I think when you're thinking about match funds, it's not so much as following a checklist. It's really about following a cycle and a process of stewarding and cultivating donors to make a gift to your organization in this way. So the first step is to identify. First, you want to set your match goal. How much are you looking to raise in match funds? If you have a $100,000 campaign goal, maybe 50,000 of that you want to come from match funds to generate the other 50. Once you set your goal, you want to build your list. So if your goal is 50, you want to say, who can I build what donors, sponsors, foundations, local businesses are available, can I have on my list to approach to ask for a matching gift? Local match dollars can come from, we've seen through Newsmatch most commonly, they come from major donors, people making gifts $1,000 or greater. We've also seen them come from foundations and other charitable institutions, but also local businesses who have an interest in a topic you cover, or have an interest in the community that you cover, and they want to have that halo effect and alignment with your work. And we've also seen quite easily for you to engage your board members or your publisher or your founder to challenge your readers to make a gift. Oftentimes, matching gift campaigns the matching gifts come from like a pooled group of funders. So you might get, $1,000 from all 10 of your board members and be able to go to your audience to say the next $10,000 that comes in will be matched by our board. So just think, depending on your organization, I think the idea is to start with the types of funders you already have relationships with. If you have a strong philanthropic business model, lean into that. If you have a strong ad revenue model and sponsorship model, lean into your businesses, lean into what you feel is your strength. After you build your list, you want to do some research. So if I have a list, the rule of thumb is you need about 3 donors for every 1 gift you want to secure. So if you're looking to secure 5 $5,000 gifts, you need 15, you need 15 prospects on your list, because some might not come through, right? So once you have the number of 15 prospects, you want to do some research, like what types of things do they care about? What has been the size of their gifts in the past? Have they given to us in the past? Have they given to newsrooms or causes that are similar to ours? Do some research on them. And then based on that research, you want to prioritize your prospects. Okay, who are the first 5 that I'm going to approach? And generally, when you prioritize your prospects, you prioritize those that are either have the potential to give the largest amount or take the longest to cultivate. So we say that start with your pyramid of donors that can make the largest amount. Start with those first, because generally they take a little bit longer to cultivate, and then work your way down to donors who will give smaller amounts. Once you prioritize your prospects, this is when you're in the listening phase. You are there to learn of their interests. What is their interest in your work? What are their internal priorities and goals? I think some questions that you can bring to learn this information about those potential match funders, here are a few, like, why does our journalism, or maybe you cover a particular topic, why does that cause matter to you? Why now in particular? Open the door for them to say what they want to learn about you. What are you curious to most learn about our newsroom or about the work that we do? What do you feel is the greatest impact of our journalism or cause that we impact? And I think this is important because when you talk about what the return on their investment is, you want to align it to what they feel is the most important impact. What ways would they like to be involved with you, and then would you ever consider supporting our work with a matching gift? This cultivation process takes a lot of time. This is where you'll spend your most time. You might take a week or two to get your list together, but this is the process of relationship building. It might take 2 or 3 meetings before you're actually asking them to make a gift, to just learn about what they care about, what their interests are, what they see as their internal priorities and goals. And in the back of your head, you should be thinking, okay, how can I align our newsroom need or our campaign need to build this match fund with their interests? From these conversations, you might realize, they have a concerted goal, like maybe in the case of Uber, to build their consumer base in my neighborhood. Maybe it is better to offer a matching gift in exchange for vouchers for use of their product. You might find that the funder's interest really is on having direct impact on the environment or issue, or the environment or another issue in your community. Maybe you might say, well, the best alignment for us is that when someone makes a gift to our organization, that funder makes a contribution to a cause that we're aligned with. So the point here is that you're trying to do math. You're trying to understand what it is they care about and find that Venn diagram between what it is the funder needs and wants and what you see as your campaign goals. Once you have a clear sense of this, you're jumping into the ask phase, where with all this information, you're quite explicitly asking, you're stating your goal, and you're asking, you're demonstrating what you would be able to achieve if you reach their goal, and you're asking the funder to join you in helping you reach that goal with a matching gift. And I think it's really important to be very specific about the matching gift amount you're looking for and when you need it. And the reason why this is important is because you want to provide an incentive for donors to act quickly. The reason why it's important to do that cultivation phase is so that the amount you suggest and the deadline you suggest is informed by all the information that you've learned from speaking with that donor and learning about that donor. We always say that the actual asking for the gift should actually be the shortest step, because by this time you should already know the answer is generally going to be yes if you laid the groundwork of really cultivating that donor and knowing their interests. Maybe through the cultivation process, some donors have trailed off your list and you're thinking they might be better suited for a different opportunity in the future. But by the time you're asking, you have confidence that the gifts may be yes, or may just be a follow-up in terms of variations of what you're proposing. The last step is, once they say yes to supporting you with a matching gift, it's time to deliver and steward your donors. It's important to acknowledge them. As soon as they make their gift, you want to acknowledge them. And also during the campaign itself, you want to structure an opportunity to to highlight their name, highlight their contribution as a matching gift supporter, and highlight the fact that they're challenging your readers to support the journalism you do. Some funders may ask for explicit forms of acknowledgement, particularly if it's a corporation or a business. Other funders just might ask for acknowledgement in name, but you just want to make sure that you're doing your best to acknowledge the fact that they're supporting you with a catalytic matching gifts. The other thing is, once you've completed your campaign, you want to tell the story. Like, you want to report to them, you know, thanks to your matching gift, we raised X amount of dollars. We were able to gain X amount of new members, and maybe even further down the line, you want to share what you did with those funds. You know, through our spring member drive or through our fall member drive, here's what we were able to do, the types of reporting. I think it's really important that you make sure the story of impact that you present to the funder is aligned with what you learned about them in the cultivation stage. If that funder is really interested in your community, you want to make sure that the story of impact is centered on the impact you've had in that community, or the impact you've had on a particular issue they care most about. And you might have different stories of impact for different funders. And lastly, you want to stay connected, right? Beyond just securing the gift, letting them know the impact that they had. You want to continue to build their relationship with that matching gift supporter. Might they be interested in also providing matching gifts in the future? Or are they in a great position to fund and support something else that you're doing at your organization? So I ran through these relatively quickly, but I think one of the big takeaways from this process is really it's all about relationship building. And similar to building your membership program, it's all about understanding the work that you do and how it aligns with what your funder values most and cares about most, and making sure that there's alignment between the two so that you can deliver that impact. Just showing again the four phases, but want to open it up for our last 10 minutes for any questions that folks on the call might have.
I can start with one while folks gather their thoughts. This is Ariel. I'm curious what are some mistakes you've seen folks make when securing the matching gifts? Any language that really doesn't resonate with funders that you're reaching out to this, or what are some sort of cautionary tales around matching gifts?
I think cautionary tales are just around realizing the fact that oftentimes when you're securing large gifts, especially when you have to explain how it's going to be leveraged, because the matching gift concept might be new to certain supporters, I think it's a cautionary tale to think that it's really about following a checklist and checking boxes and getting a result. That it really is more of a dance. It's like a nuance. You have to learn about the funder. Funders may drop off. Funders may be added to your list later down the line just based on what you're learning. And that takes time. So in the case of Newsmatch, really the larger the gift, the more time it's likely going to take. If it's a $5,000 gift, you might be able to secure that in 4 to 6 weeks. But if you're looking to build $50,000 in match funds, just depending on the size and scale of your organization, it might take additional time. I think the other thing is to realize is that one shortcut, sometimes, especially if you're a journalist that's started an organization and you're learning the development process now, you might feel that you are that it might be inappropriate to dip into the pot and ask of people who are already supporting your organizations. But I actually think that's the smartest way to start. The people that are most likely to give you to give you money are those that have given you money in the past, because they value and they care about the work that you do. And if you're able to position how an increased, an additional gift of theirs could be leveraged in a way to really build that support, that it would be completely appropriate. Don't be shy to ask your current list of supporters, those that you know that might have potential to make a larger gift. Don't be afraid to ask them to support you in this way. Sometimes it's really the asking is all they need to realize that there's an opportunity to increase their impact.
Thanks for sharing that. Courtney, you've got a question from Kathy Halley. My sense is that someone in an editorial role, except maybe an EIC or a publisher, should not be doing this kind of fundraising. I think the question there is it appropriate for folks on staff on the editorial side to be doing this? So who do you see amongst the Newsmatch newsrooms that you support, Courtney, engaged in helping to secure matching gifts or play a role in that process?
I think oftentimes they're happening at relatively medium to larger size organizations that do have designated, development staff. But I think that this is also like this question is a part of a much larger debate or conversation around, the separation between editorial and fundraising just in general in journalism. And I think that what I always say is when you're thinking about the cultivation process for your donor, and one question I always think about is like, who is the best person to make this ask of the donor? And who in that, and sometimes it could be your editor-in-chief because the donor has an affinity or relationship with that person. Sometimes it could be a reporter because the donor admires some of the work that they're doing. I think that there's a way to sort of engage some of editorial staff in this process without explicitly that person having to be the one asking for money. But it's certainly welcome for that person to join a call and speak about the work that they're doing during the cultivation phase. And sometimes it's really about capacity. If you're a 1 to 2 person newsroom and you're the founder and you do reporting and you do fundraising, you may not just have the luxury to assign it to someone else. I see one question here. Do you mind if I just jump in on that last question from Natasha? What are the advantages of raising matching funds as opposed to raising donations without matching? They say that matching funds generally receive a higher level of reception from members. I do not know the fact off the top of my head. I think it's around like you see a 70% open rate in match fund emails compared to those that don't. And then you see nearly 50% amount increase in the number of donors that decide to make a gift. Honestly, it's because people are motivated. I think you can't underestimate the power of an incentive to get a person to donate at the time you want them to donate. They might be reading your work and they value it, and you've asked them time and time again to support, and it kind of goes to the back of their mind because they don't read every email. But the minute you say, but if you give in the next 20 days, or if you give in the next 24 hours, $10, your $100 becomes $200 for an organization. They're motivated to give now, and oftentimes they're motivated to give more than they otherwise would. So a matching gift, all it is an incentive. It's a motivation. And in the membership campaign, again, you can leverage it to inspire new donors. Another way we've seen matching funds be used in the form of a membership drive is actually more in what is called a challenge. So some folks will say, like, if we get 100 new donors in the next over the next 2 weeks, we will receive a lump sum $20,000 matching challenge from funder X. And what it just does, again, is just motivating people to give now when you want them, and oftentimes give more.
That's a great question. There's one other from Karen de la Hoz Rodriguez. What type of team do you need for a matching strategy? Which you already sort of answered, but then the second half of her question was, which are the most common technical challenges? Like what sort of do you need set up in the back end for that? that smile you made makes me realize you probably get this question a lot.
Yeah, two things. I would say the large donor cultivation is a slow burn, and oftentimes it can be supported with a CRM where you're tracking how often you're engaging with their funder, you're documenting what your strategy is, you're documenting who had a conversation with them last and what do they care about, what do they like, so that when you're ready to ask or you're ready to steward, you have some of those planning phases already checked out. So I think a CRM, and that could be a heavy lift, though it can be done with a Google document, like basically a funder planning guide. And on that document, you would list like who your donor is, and you could just keep a rolling list of notes of conversations that you've had with them, just so that when you're ready to ask and when you're ready to steward with those impact metrics, there's documentation of that should other team members need to be involved. I think another technical challenge that's not necessarily like a technology, but it's technical, is articulating like what a local, like what a match is and how it works. And I want to quickly just provide a slide that I've hidden, but like sometimes it can just be hard to articulate like to your audience how it works, particularly for the first time. And so I think this line right here that just says your $25 monthly membership will turn into $50 for the news you trust and rely on. I think it's really important to make sure you have your language down tight to your audience on what the match is, because sometimes it can just be a confusing concept. I think the big headline is double your donations. I mean, but once people get it, it clicks and they're like, oh yeah, now's the time for me to give. But you might have to explain it 2 or 3 times throughout your campaign to really make it clear.
That makes me think, Courtney, of one of your Newsmatch participants, Chris Horn from the Devil's Shift, when I asked him, what things do you wish you had known when you launched your membership program that you realized that you would recommend to everybody who comes after you? And he said, even though it feels like you never stop talking about your membership program, everybody else is really busy. And so unless you think that you sound like a broken record, you're probably not asking people enough. To you, it feels like you never stop talking about it, but for the rest of us, we're all doing 10,000 things a day. And it's really hard to talk about it too much to people.
Exactly. Yes.